Buenos nachos and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, this PS Vita is here. Why is it here, you ask? Well, probably one of the more common reasons you'd expect to see it here. It has a messed up charging port. No, it doesn't have BGA failure. The buttons have not collapsed, just a charging port. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing fixed. And of course, our associate, that guy, has already taken this thing apart for us, and well, we have the board right here, so we can work on it without too many difficulties. Quite loose, but it's in good condition. So I think we're just gonna solder it up and see what we can do to get this thing going again. So it looks like it's just a little loose and some of the joints may just need some reinforcement. So let's see which pins are loose. You know, it's actually somewhat there we go. There's one that's loose. And I think this one was loose too. This one is, of course, wobbly. Yeah, so this whole side looks like it's loose. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take care of those legs, and then we'll go ahead and anchor this thing down. So I'm gonna need a better soldering iron tip than that, for something really fine, apparently. We'll see what we can do with this one. Let's go ahead and get our vacuum going. Get myself all caffeinated here. And on today's episode, we're gonna be using some of this Flux. I think it's a little bit better than the Kingbo, pretty sure. Now we're gonna have to really dig in there. Looks like we have just a tad bit too much solder, which is quite surprising since I've hardly even added any to the tip. Guess we have no choice, because of the interest of time, but to use some desoldering wick. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and verify the strength of these pins. So we'll go ahead and prod them. Make sure none of them are moving. You definitely want to have a good bond, that way this device does not come back. And that way the customer is satisfied. Looks like we have one still a problem right there. And that last one is good. So this one right here, third from last, which is technically a redundancy from what I can tell. Let's see if that did it. Nope. May have to hold that one down. Alright, is it better? But is it also touching? Because I can't tell. Yeah, it kind of looks like there's a bit of a bridge in there. Very surprising. Now, is it still adhering? Looks like we're good. Yeah, looks like we're all good. Now to strengthen up the bond of the actual port to the board, we'll of course be using our good old-fashioned friend leaded solder. This thing is quite wobbly, as you can tell. May end up needing to bring out our original soldering iron tip for this. Find out momentarily. I did add some flux just because I think we're going to need it. Wow, the colors were looking quite bad back there, so I'm glad we adjusted the camera for you fine folks at home. It is looking like I'm going to have to bring out a more powerful soldering iron tip if we want to properly solder these anchor points down. And in case you were wondering which soldering iron tip we were using the T15 BC1, and we're going to be swapping back on over to the T15 D24, which is of course our usual soldering iron tip. The temperature that I'm using on the soldering iron and the temperature that I've been using so far is, I believe, 450C, because that's what it's set to, which is quite high, but that's what it was set to. See if we can anchor down these corners. Don't want to sit here too long because you will melt some plastic. We can always take a look at the back of the board to make sure that things have soldered on correctly. Yeah, see, we were there for just a tad bit too long. Alright, what does the back look like? I'd say we can definitely use some solder over here. And I know these things run through the factory, but I think this is one of the spots where you could use a little bit more solder in manufacturing. Of course, that could be intentional. And we have one more solder point. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of pressure just so that we know the two halves have been joined. Looks like we're all good. We'll go ahead and clean this off. Remove all the residual flux with our brush. You'll want to make sure you remove all the flux, that way the customer has no difficulties when inserting their charger. Gotta say, this metal brush here was the best thing I ever bought. Let's go ahead and spray this back off here. And now let's make sure we got everything on the front. All right. And there we are. Looks a lot better than how it came in, that's for sure. All right, we'll go ahead and have our guy put this thing back together. We have that guy right here putting the PS Vita back together, and soon we'll see if we have a successful repair.
We're getting our charging indicator here. Now that I've plugged it in, this is lighting up, which tells us we're definitely receiving power through the charging port. We'll go ahead and turn it on, since that's what everyone wants to see. There you have it. Looks to me like a successful repair. What year is it?
If you found this video helpful or useful, please remember to leave us a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time.